word. Let's bring in former FDA Associate Commissioner and President of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest, Peter Pitts. Sir, welcome back to Wake Up America. What do you make of what Dr. Fauci just said there?
Well, Dr. Fauci is talking about individualized risk, which is fancy jargon for personal responsibility. And it means that individual citizens need to take the precautions they feel are most necessary for them, while also keeping in mind that we're responsible for each other. So I think that Dr. Fauci is finally saying that, listen, COVID is changing from a pandemic to an endemic. You don't want to stretch the analogy too far, but it's kind of like saying you don't want to lock down the U.S. and close schools for sniffles.
Right.
The current very infectious variant of COVID-19, the symptoms are mild and they pass quickly. Why are we imposing mandates?
Exactly. I'm with you. I don't mean to cut you off. Tell me about the new deaths in Philadelphia. How many?
Well, I haven't seen that there's been any rise in deaths or any deaths with the new variant. Obviously, the overwhelming number of people who are having serious manifestations from COVID still are people who are at high risk, people who are unvaccinated.
Exactly.
We can address that.
Dr. Fauci in that same interview said that COVID is not going to be eradicated or eliminated. That's a quote. We've been saying that for 15 plus months here on Wake Up America, that this is going to be endemic. We're going to need to learn to live with this. But all of a sudden, the city of Philadelphia yesterday announcing that they are reintroducing a mask mandate indoors in that city, the fifth biggest city in the country. I can't believe we are still living in this world right now. People need to make decisions for themselves, don't they?
They do. And, so this is like, the new iteration of Broad Street bullies. Zero COVID policies, lockdown policies like they're doing in Shanghai right now don't work.
And people are jumping off balconies in Shanghai.
What works is recognizing what the risks are, dealing with them and mitigating the impact, which is what we're doing here in New York and in most of the country. The other issue is once people take their masks off, it's going to be awfully hard to get them to put them back on, and especially when the science doesn't say you can do that. The CDC hasn't changed their opinion. If you're in a green zone, you can still go out without your mask. Philadelphia is an outlier here, and people need to recognize that.
Since Philadelphia is doing this, do you feel that other cities may follow suit?
I think there are a lot of civic leaders out there with kind of mask PTSD, where they want to put their masks back on. They're comfortable. They feel that it is somehow a virtue signal relative to their awareness of science. But the truth is that if you believe that science is back, and that's a good thing, you have to agree with the science, even when you don't agree with it personally.
Yeah, I saw a guy over the weekend was wearing a tuxedo with a mask on. And it wasn't a surgical mask. It was like one of the heavy-duty N95s. And I was like, oh, like from the neck down, you look like James Bond. But then with this thing on, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But it is, to that point, is some of this theater. I mean, what's happening in Philadelphia, I think it's these, your words, not mine, lawmakers with PTSD that are more comfortable in masks. So all of a sudden they say, no. You all need to wear masks again indoors. Just to me, it makes no sense right now.
Individualized risk, to use Tony Fauci's terms, means you need to do what makes you feel safe. But at a certain point, it doesn't mean you need to do what makes me feel safe.
Right.
And I think that we need to recognize that people need to do what's best for them with recognition of others relative to what's the right thing to do.
I mean, I think at what point does the government get out of people's lives? Because, I've just been listening to a lot of people saying, I can't believe they're doing this in Philadelphia. I don't want to have to wear a mask. And I don't want people telling me I'm vaccinated, I take precautions. I mean, but government always seems to step in and want to tell people how to live their lives.
Right now, in my opinion, the most important public health imperative is to talk to 30% of Americans who aren't vaccinated and try to get them to roll up their sleeves by saying, oh, by the way, and now you need to wear a mask again. People are going to go, you know what, forget it. I'm not doing anything. It's counterproductive.
And don't forget about Title 42. So yesterday, people were saying that because of COVID, you still have to wear a mask on a plane, but because of COVID, we're going to roll back Title 42 for illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. Now you can say, because of COVID, if you're in the fifth biggest city in the country, Philadelphia, you have to wear a mask inside, but because of COVID, we're rolling back Title 42. What do you make of that hypocrisy?
Well, it is hypocrisy, and it makes people stop listening to the science. Let's face it, airports and airplanes have the best air filtration systems, bar none.
The HEPA filtration.
Yes.
Yeah, we always hear about it.
So, where's the science here? Why aren't we doing what the science says? Officials are skittish, and that's okay, but they ultimately have to do the right thing. They've got to follow the science.
The officials should listen to you, Peter Pitts.
Good to have you back.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, plenty more still to come in Wake Up America. Don't forget to download the Newsmax app. Do what millions